Good to know. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Want to call the roll, Nora?
Mr. Jaskowitz.
Here.
Mr. Kaplan.
Here.
Mr. Mazzarella.
Here.
Mr. Freak.
Here.
Mr. Reddy.
Present.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Chairman Irakane.
Present.
We also have our board planner, Mr. Chadwick. Our
Present.
board engineer, Mr. Holloway, and our board attorney, Mr. King.
Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
At this point in this evening's meeting, is there any member of the public that has any business to be brought to this board that is not on this evening's agenda? I hear none and see none. We have some resolutions, Nora?
We have one.
One resolution.
Mhm.
This is a resolution of denial.
Correct.
So an affirmative vote means you're voting to deny. Application 1921, Pacific Outdoor Advertising. Would somebody like to move that resolution?
So moved.
Second, Jaskowitz.
Any discussion? Nora, call the roll.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Freak.
Yes.
Reddy.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Irakane.
Yes. Okay, takes care of that. There's no correspondence of any type?
Nope.
Okay. So let's go right into the agenda and into the applications. Application 2230, Chad Hembry, 578 Lakeshore Drive, C variance to construct an open deck with landing and stairs, entranceway, no roof, with stairs to the rear and stairs to the front. Applicant is here.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? You swear affirm testimony you're about to give before the board is true self you got? And for the record, you're Chad Hembry, you're the owner of this subject property?
Correct.
I think you can have a seat, please speak into the microphone.
Okay, you're in an R4 zone, and you have a 4,000 square foot lot, which is undersized for the zone. The minimum in the zone is 6,000, so you have somewhat of a handicap starting off. Sure. You're looking for 36.9% yards and courts open deck and 52% impervious coverage. I understand that there is a correspondence from Mr. Liza, our municipal engineer. And have you seen this letter? Have you seen this memo dated June 11th?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, just to make sure, I have June 13th in mind.
That's not bad, my eyes are, sorry.
No problem.
October? Yeah, October. 11. Okay, the applicant is proposing to further increase the impervious coverage and building coverage on the lot. The property already exceeds the permitted impervious coverage by 7.35% or 294 square feet, and is proposed to increase to 472 square feet over the maximum amount allowed in the zone. This will result in an increase in stormwater runoff from the property. The applicant is required to provide stormwater measures to mitigate the runoff from the 472 square feet of surface area, either with seepage pits or other stormwater management devices. All underground roof leader pipes that will be discharging to a seepage pit shall be constructed with perforated pipe and placed in a stone bed in accordance with township engineering details unless otherwise directed by the township engineer. Proposed grading information has not been provided. However, the area proposed for this deck is relatively flat. Therefore, it appears the lot will accommodate the new deck with little or no change in the grade. If the applicant decides to change the grade of the property or move 5 cubic yards or more of the soil, a soil moving permit is required. So, how are we gonna reconcile what you want to do with the engineer's report?
Yes, I've been in contact with the engineer department, and we've We're still finalizing, exactly like the exact details, but we've come to the conclusion that we're going to create, a rain garden, that they're happy with this idea. Basically, we're going to, take, from our downspouts, from our gutters, we're going to take the water that comes from there, and they are going to go into, a rain garden in the yard, which is going to allow that water to run off, in a safe way that they
There'll be a managed situation.
manage situation, yes.
Okay, and the engineer and you are in cahoots to do this? You're,
Yes, I've been speaking with Brandon specifically.
When did you meet with him and come to this solution?
I've been speaking with Brandon off and on for the last few weeks.
Because I have a letter dated October 11th, which is substantively the same that was read out loud.
Right, I have an email from the engineering department. I sent it to Bob and to, Pete, that today. It came to me after 5 that, Brandon's been working with the applicant on this.
All the improvements are in place, correct? And we're gonna modify something, yes?
have
What do
you
you
built
mean?
it, have you built the deck yet?
No, the deck has not been built. We haven't started.
Everything else is though.
Excuse me?
All the other paved areas are there.
There is an old deck there and an old porch, and I'm looking to replace
John, is that on Lisa Vanderhoff? That
Yeah.
report?
No, what are you talking
Where
about?
this is,
I
that,
have one dated
Well, who's-
October 11th,
Yeah.
2000,
What's the applicant?
Lisa Vandorf.
What-
The wrong app-
yeah, this isn't that, that's the
No,
next
this is
page.
This
I
is,
thought you were doing-
no,
No.
Oh.
Humbry.
Humber, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, that answers that. All right, I'm gonna read the email that the email we got today. Just wanted to give a heads up that Chad from 578 Lakeshore Drive has indeed been in contact with engineering and is coming up with a plan to mitigate for the additional impervious coverage referenced in our June 13, 2022 memo. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns. So, any approval we give him would be subject to a finalization of your, discussions with him and a plan that meets the engineer. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not asking for any side yard setbacks, no rear yard setbacks, front yard setbacks? Pretty much just have a the fact you got a 4,000 square foot lot,
Yeah, that's the
which
biggest issue.
I wish the fathers of the early 20th century had said, no, 100 lots.
They started out at 20 feet.
Or the Mount Tabor ones, what were they, 12 by 36? Any other questions by the board?
There's a side yard setback.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not what I see. It's only 2 items.
He's proposed,
Proposed 0.
I got 2 items.
Yeah, what's going on here? We're
August.
Oh,
existing 6, allowed.
accessory side yard, what is that for?
There's a deck in the porch, and we want the on the side of the house is where the porch is, and the front porch, it's old and it's awkward and it's not even of the correct size. We can't even open up, our storm door, fully. So we just what we wanna do is just widen that so we can open it up, so we can open up a door, our storm door safely, and, just have a more welcoming, functional.
Can you speak a little bit
So
louder?
it's on the side of the
Microphone.
house? It's on the side, when there's
Yes.
an exit door, there's a,
Yes, that's the main entry to the house.
okay. And,
That's the main entry?
Yes.
It looks like the stairs are on the backside.
Yeah.
Away from the front of the house.
Yeah, that's another thing, that it's not that functional. You have to go around into the back and then go up. It's awkward.
Are you redoing this?
Yes, That's the plan,
And the stairs will be in the front at that point?
correct.
Because the proposed that we have has the stairs in the back.
I don't see any stairs proposed for the front.
Yeah, well, that's what he said, that's what I'm asking. The stairs are proposed for the back, not the front. If he's redoing this, I would think the stairs would be here.
It looks like the stairs are on the side. See that note on the left side?
Entranceway with two sets of stairs.
He's-
Yeah, there is a front and a back,
Oh.
because, so you can get to the backyard. It would, like, there'd be a larger.
So there's steps in the front and in the back.
Yes, so you can
Got it.
go through to the backyard,
How do you get to those stairs? You're gonna put a walkway in to get?
correct.
But is that included in the coverage?
No, it's not, because we're planning on just putting some pavers in, or like some brick, or something, that can be, nothing permanent.
The engineer that you're talking with in town, does he know that?
Yes,
You really should be showing those on the plan.
oh, okay.
My suggestion is similar to the last week, you don't know where the rain garden is, you don't have the walkway on the plan. This isn't an emergency situation, you want to get it done, but I would suggest you further finalize this plan with the town engineer, show all the pavement, walkway or whatever it's gonna be on the plan so the board can see everything.
Really, we're just,
Other-
it's just
other than
a stepping
shooting
stone.
it.
It's not, like, we're just thinking it's like a stepping stone. We're not adding like a whole
I
walkway.
mean, just like putting those round concrete blocks?
Yeah, like
Everybody
something you just
said
get from
pavers.
Home Depot.
Is it pavers?
Well, I used the wrong term. Like it, just like,
I think as you move forward with this, you're gonna decide you need a more firm walkway. These stepping stones are fine going from a pool to someplace, but as a main entranceway to your house, I don't think you're gonna be satisfied with it.
Especially if you want to push something with wheels.
Chair.
Can we approve it contingent on him having an agreement with the engineer on the sidewalk and the back this way?
The problem with that, though, is we're already at 55% impervious coverage without knowing how big this paver walk's gonna be and what that's gonna do.
And I hear you, but if he's with the engineer and he's addressing the water issue with the engineer, don't you think that'd be good enough?
Well, you're not going to make the lot bigger, that's for sure. He's stuck with a 4,000 square foot lot.
No, with the water mitigation, the rain garden and all, that will cover impervious
Yeah,
cover.
but he may increase that impervious coverage, so whatever you grant today, he may increase it, which will bring him back to this board.
Mm.
So I think to John's point, if he has everything locked down, and then he knows what he needs for the variance, he won't have to come back here. Is that correct, John?
That's right. I mean, it gets long-term too. You go to sell this house someday, a lawyer comes in and says, where's the plan that reflects this resolution? We don't have it. Then you're gonna be coming back here whenever that occurs. We have it all the time. So I think you're better off tying this thing up
Do it right.
completely than trying to rush it through.
okay,
You're not building this deck in January or February, right?
no, do you see any other obstacles? This is the second time I've been here, and I just don't want to come again a third time and there be another obstacle that's found. Is there anything else you could find?
It's not an obstacle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, what they're trying to, the board is trying to do is to help you so you don't have to come back. Because if you
Right.
don't put if you put a, walkway, that's impervious coverage. So
Sure.
if they give you what you want now and you put a walkway, you're in violation, so you're gonna have to come back here. So you might as well do it right. You're talking to the engineer, explain to him what you wanna do, and then if he has to build out that rain garden a little bit more, you can say, we'll build it out another few foot, and then you can have your, walkway. So
Sure.
work with him, you're there, so.
Right.
Gotta be back here. So
Where's the rain garden going?
In the backyard, It'll be about, be over 30 feet from the house, maybe 35 feet.
You have that much room behind the house?
So, you know, if you have to come back again and you have all your ducks in a row, it's a 5-minute application. That's the situation. I mean, you come here many nights, I go through six residential applications in 40 minutes.
Okay.
But if if there's questions, and, you know, Mr. Kaplan is very right in questioning it. You know, Mr. Chadwick, you know, I just think we would all be better served if you, when can we get him back in here?
March 8th,
March 8th. That's the earliest, huh?
yes.
We're not doing any 7 o'clock meetings next year?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. It's like asking if you want root canal without Novocaine. March 8th, okay? And I'm telling you, if you come back complete, you'll walk out of here with an approval, you know, in 10 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Now, are there any members, now, in terms of your neighbor where we'll have zero clearance on the side of the house, have you spoken to them at all? Are they aware of what you're doing? Has there been any conversations, has there been any problems? What's on that side of the house? Is there any shrubbery, bushes, or anything?
I haven't spoken with them, but there's nothing on that side of the house, in between us.
Mhm.
There's, even, the other side of the house is, on their side, is their, more of where their activity is where they park their cars,
Mhm.
where they get into their homes, so, they're not on this side of the house.
Okay.
So we're sympathetic to your lot size and to your need, and you're wanting to move forward. Can't grant zero coverage and then impervious coverage without a plan. So come back with a plan addressing those with the engineer's comments, and you'll probably be able to go.
Okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion that you also go back to the zoning department, show them where the walk is, let them calculate it, and they'll do an updated review.
Okay.
And you'll give all extensions?
What was the date on
And what?
You have to provide extensions of the application, and there will be no further notice required. This is the only notice that the public will get. Motion to carry this case to March 8th without notice and with whatever extensions are required?
So moved.
Second, Jaskowitz.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you. We'll see you on March 8th.
Thank you for your time.
It's all word to me. Okay, application 2251, Lisa Vanderhoof. 72 Upper Rainbow Trail, C variance to legalize a driveway walk and 2 sets of stairs and construct the necessary retaining wall.
Will you both be testifying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to receive, or you're about to provide to the board is true self you got?
Yes.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Lisa Vanderhoof, Vanderhoof.
Your name, sir?
Ken Vanderhoof.
Ken, okay. Thank you.
Double O F.
And you're the owners of the subject property?
Correct.
Thank you, you're sworn. Mr. Chairman, the witnesses are sworn.
so the driveway's already there, the walkway's already there, the stairs are already there, and you want to construct a 3-foot-high necessary retaining wall.
That was already there.
Says it's already there.
Yeah, I just want to, your plan and design standards, your existing 4-foot, allowed 5-foot, proposed 4-foot, impervious coverage 58.48, where only 30% is allowed. You're in Rainbow Lakes, I take it, correct?
Yes.
You are
Existing
in
is 15.4.
R3 zone, and R3 zone is a 15,000 square foot zone, and you have 4,635 square feet, a little bit under the minimum.
The lakes have their homes on the board.
You want to tell us how this all happened?
Yeah, you're right.
Our driveway and walkways and walls have been falling apart, and we needed to get them put back together. Our contractor that we hired did not realize we were in Parsippany because of our mailing address being Denville. He thought we were a Denville municipality, so he did not file for the correct permits.
Wait a minute, did Denville issue permits for this property?
No, he thought apparently Denville does not require permits because we were just replacing what was already there. We were not doing anything.
Okay.
So you're saying you didn't just put all of this in?
No, this was repairing what was already
And
existing
when did you buy the house?
in 1987, 1997, I'm sorry.
1997, and all of this was there when you bought it?
Correct.
But you expanded the driveway,
No, they haven't.
No,
No.
no.
if you look at the, existing proposed, the drawn-in, piece looks like it was expanded.
It got a label there, proposed walkway. Is there a walkway being proposed?
No, everything that we did, the proposed driveway and proposed walkway, those were there.
Who prepared the plan? Put these labels on there? You?
No,
No, that would be the zoning department.
Okay. So everything exists and it's all replacement?
exactly, correct.
Because we have a report from the
Right.
town engineer, that is raising a lot of questions similar to what you heard the applicant before. Stormwater management.
Do you have the letter?
Do you have that letter?
Yes,
Did your property run from tilt back towards the lake? Are you on the lake?
yes, we are,
So you tilt back.
correct.
Obviously, the lake's not high.
No, no.
Well, there is a lake across the street that's higher than that,
Yeah.
But that's,
and that wall is falling down. There's a wall.
But that's
on
the
road,
town wall.
That's the town wall, and it's all cracking.
Okay.
There is, they have to say something about that.
Okay.
You have no street parking there, right? You
No.
don't park in the driveway, you would better be riding a bike. huh?
exactly. I mean, you
park-
can park on the street, but
Snow.
snow, anything,
Mhm.
and they're very narrow streets, so you really should not park.
And the retaining wall that the engineer said has already been constructed was there, you just replaced it.
Correct. Everything that was,
You have
that,
put nothing new in there.
we put nothing, we did not widen
You bought the house and
anything.
then- Okay,
Yes,
How did you get here?
yeah, why are you here? That's what I was gonna ask.
because we received a letter, apparently from the engineering department.
From
Did
the
somebody call
engineering?
against you?
Zoning?
Yes,
Did you
yes,
get a letter
somebody
from
called
zoning?
against us.
Somebody
Yes,
called, somebody
from
called
zoning.
it, yeah.
Who, okay,
Yes.
And what was previously put up, was there permits for that originally, or you have no idea?
I have no idea, that was done years before.
That was way before our time.
Mm.
Right, and I just want to make it clear that on the survey where the items that are marked proposed is because they're legalizing it. They never had permits to begin with. Not you, I realize the previous owners, but that is why it's marked proposed on the survey.
When was it replaced? When did you do the work?
In October, November.
This year, 2022?
Yes,
When was the house built originally, have any idea?
in the
it's almost 95 years old.
I don't
Two
think
lot
there are
cabin.
any neighbors.
Mm.
I don't think there's any neighbors. I'll find out. So let's get back to the engineer's report. Did you see the engineer's report about mitigating the runoff from the driveway?
yes, and I spoke to them about that. We do not have any runoff. If everything slants down, goes
Into the pond.
into the, yes.
Mr. Chaz,
Yeah,
what do you think?
if it's existing, if there's no problems that have been created, it's been there forever, I would.
Chaz, please pull down your microphone.
talking to your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever the township engineer decides is really what would be the ultimate here. There's no problems that have been created, then there may be a need to put in some kind of filtering system, but it looks like there's a swale on the property, so I would just have the applicant, discuss the same with the township engineering department.
And, the three foot,
I think if you, Chaz, we get into that, you know, his discipline is going to be, a stormwater system needs to be here. They're saying, you just.
Never been there.
It runs down from the street, across our property into the lake.
Yes.
So we're gonna get into a situation with them, they are not gonna be able to get out of it.
And I actually spoke to the engineer when we received that letter because I was concerned about that. And he said to, you know, bring that up in front of the board and whatever was decided, he didn't see that there was a problem.
So
But he didn't,
He didn't correspond that.
yeah.
Right,
You've spoken with him after he wrote this letter in
Correct.
October.
yes.
And who's him? Is it Mr. Lizza?
well, there's two of them. Who's the one besides Liz?
I forget his name.
Nora?
I honestly don't,
Nehoff?
There's several, there's Paul, there's
Oh, okay.
Brandon,
if,
but Justin is the main.
But can we go back to, do you know how old the house is?
the house itself was built in the 1920s.
So we could be dealing with a situation that
Pre-existing.
pre-exists the zoning laws even. There might have been a gravel driveway there, there might have been whatever there, we don't know. And they say they bought the place in '96, the driveway was already there. You know, I realize that we've gotta be protective of a lot of things, but is there any member of the public who's here for this application? So none of your neighbors are here, right?
No,
No problem with your neighbors?
No problem at all. My neighbors are actually happy with it.
because it looks much nicer
Much
than
nicer and-
what
Okay.
was there.
Now, what about the 3-foot wall? What's going on there?
There
Is
was-
that replace an existing wall?
Yes, there was already stone walls there, we just replaced what was there.
You replaced everything that was there with new, better-looking stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Then my only question is, why did you get a complaint filed against you? Do you have any idea?
To be honest with you, because I was a trustee on the board of the community, and there are some neighbors that are fighting with the fair share that is going on in our lake. And every time a board member has done something with their property, they
Stick
have.
it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, point 5.2, right away, I think that has to do with construction of town's right away. So would that be a requirement in the resolution? They would need a permit, they did some construction in the right away.
So is that attainable? Can they get that?
They would have to get it from the town.
Do we have to put that in a resolution?
I'm looking at the plan, which,
The engineer in point 5 of his letter, October 11th, 2022,
Well, where's that on the plan? I don't see it.
well, it's in the front.
The driveway was there, did you repave the driveway?
We repaved the driveway, yes.
Same.
Right. We did not extend it out. The driveway went right to the road.
is the concrete wall still in
It
the
looks
right
like
of
you
way?
put a wall, on the plan, there's a wall that extends, if you're looking at your driveway to your left, that's
Yes.
in the town's right of way. And is that one of the walls that you constructed?
That was there, yes.
Okay, but
You just replaced that one.
Yes, we replaced that.
And then just out into the street?
No.
They're right away.
That's right of way.
It's hard to tell what's what.
Right, the survey does show it, so I would say from the drainage issue, there haven't been any problems, that I don't see any concerns there, but the township right-of-way would have to be addressed.
Okay.
You're willing to do that?
That, I just go and file a permit for?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any work you did, that was not there before?
No.
Anything new?
No, absolutely
It's
not.
all new, but it's replacing what was there.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No other questions by the board? Any members of,
Just for clarification, when the engineer says, hold on. storm water management measures are required. That's unambiguous, but he can say, I went to the site and I'm good, right?
That's what I think they're saying.
I know they're saying there was a conversation, but the only documentation we have is unambiguous.
True.
And I
Well,
don't want to
there's
contradict
a
that.
lot of ambiguous things here, because we don't know when the first driveway was put in.
Should we put in subject to review of stormwater with the engineer?
That's what we just discussed.
Yeah.
If you get into a stormwater management.
I don't want to put them in a circle where they can't get out, I get
I
it.
don't think they can. They don't have any space.
Yeah.
So we have to kind
Can't
of
throw a
grant
rain
it.
garden in there?
I mean, if,
They have a
They have a lake.
lake right behind.
Yeah, I was
this
gonna
one.
say, and there's not even any room in our backyard for a rain
And
garden.
they're not the only ones whose runoff is going into that lake. Every house is, I mean, sometimes we just have to realize that we're not gonna solve the ills of the world and let, you know,
I totally get it, but I want to know that when an engineer says something, we've given it full consideration, that's it.
how about you do this? You feel comfortable that the engineer will put in writing what you two spoke about?
Yes.
And so you can have it subject to the town engineer concurring with something. You know, just stay away.
documenting his recent telephone conversation. How's that?
Could be the existing drainage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Existing drainage is not an issue, apparently. They don't have an issue, so.
We've never, I mean, even during Sandy, we did not have
Okay.
any problems.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application, in support of this application? I hear none. Seeing none, we don't need to go into conference, do we? Is there anybody
No.
opposed to this?
No.
Okay, somebody, make a statement as to why we should approve it. I think a lot of the conversation we've had
Yep.
is indicative of the situation. Just,
I believe if the applicant is willing to comply with all the added requirements in agreement with the engineer, that I would be approving this application as written.
somebody frame a resolution?
I can do it.
Thank you.
Application 2251, Lisa Vanderhoff, 72 Upper Rainbow Trail, Block 117, Lot 34 in the R3 zone. I recommend the board grant the C variance to legalize the driveway, walk, and 2 sets of stairs, and construct a necessary retaining wall contrary to section 430-275X and section 430-35, column 13.
Seconded.
Any discussion, nor call the roll?
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Parikh.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Willand.
Yes.
Ira King.
Yes. Results is variance is granted,
Thank you.
no problem.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Good luck.
I see you're all dressed for it, that's for sure.
He's trying to outdo me with that shirt. Now I'm upset. I don't have a dog.
You guys have a good night.
Okay. Application 2250, Shree Developers LLC, is that what we're doing? Yes.
Reduced version.
The bifurcated application, CD variance to construct a sports entertainment venue.
It's a reduced version.
It looks like Mr. O'Neill is representing the applicant.
Right?
Good evening, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, as you pointed out, this is a bifurcated application for Shree Development. It's the property at 1259 to 1269 Route 46. It's currently occupied by an office park. That whole park is coming down for a sports and entertainment venue. And here to describe the nature of that use is Mr. Waldo, corporate representative of Topgolf.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give before the board is the true self you got? And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Yes. Todd.
Todd?
Todd Waldo, W-A-L-D-O, with Topgolf, 8750 North Central Expressway, Dallas, Texas.
And you'll be testifying factual on operation?
Yes, he will.
Yes.
He'll be referring to a slide deck, which is currently projected on the screen.
Do we want to mark that?
Turn off the light.
Can
We're gonna mark
you
that
just
whole
kill that
deck
one
as
set of
Exhibit
lights
A1,
over the screen,
providing
Nora?
thumb drive of that deck for
Thank
his
you.
children.
Yeah, we can dim the lights, but good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good evening.
We have an exciting project to present before you tonight. And, as Mr. O'Neill mentioned, I don't know how many folks are familiar with Topgolf. We certainly will. Okay, very good. Well, we have two venues in the state of New Jersey, one down in Edison and the other in Mount Laurel, which is outside of Philadelphia. But Topgolf is a premier golf entertainment use. We are an industry leader with a best-in-class business operation. It consists of a full-service restaurant and bar and a driving range component. What we're proposing here is a 3-story venue with 102 hitting bays, all the latest and greatest technology, and full food and beverage service as part of that. A lot of mixed uses within it. Outdoor spaces, rooftop terrace, outdoor patio, as an outdoor golf entertainment use. So we have a few slides we'd like to share with you tonight. I don't know if anybody can see this, but we can dim the lights if necessary, or can everybody see that okay?
Those lights here are over there in that wall.
Okay.
The mayor's got it. No, the resident janitor is gonna fix it. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the mayor.
So direct your attention, certainly.
Not too many.
Good job there, sir.
If we can get to the next slide. Can everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So just with the location we're proposing, I think everybody's familiar off of Route 46, wedged in between Smithfield Park and the Target Shopping Center. This project is about the responsible redevelopment of an underutilized property, and it will create economic benefit for the entire community, and certainly a best-in-class entertainment destination for the township and the surrounding area. It's 10.5 acres. This project, again, will create upwards of 400 jobs. That's when the venue is fully operational. Create over 200 jobs during construction, and will generate about $1 million+ of revenue for this property. It's a high-profile project that has many benefits to the community, both from an economic development perspective and just from a community perspective, based on some of our programs and offerings that we have at Topgolf. Can we go to the next slide, please? So just a little bit about the company. Again, I know, Mr. Chairman, you said you've been to a Topgolf before.
I've been to Mount Laurel.
Okay, great. Anybody else been? Yes, sir.
Edison,
Austin.
Oh, okay, all right, there
and
you go.
Vegas.
Okay.
Phoenix, Arizona, yes, we've been there.
In my opinion, it was a true entertainment. I mean, the golf is very nice, but I felt that the entertainment part of it
Yes, sir.
was just so,
You don't have to be a golfer to enjoy Topgolf.
No.
That's for
not
sure.
at all.
Well, just a little bit about Topgolf.
Because he's not a golfer, so.
For folks that are unfamiliar, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Callaway Golf Company, global sports entertainment company. We are a young but mature company, been around since 2000. And as of today, we have 86 venues operating around the world. 2 of those obviously in New Jersey. Today we just opened up a venue in Glasgow, Scotland. So we are a company that is going through a growth pattern now and wanting to bring this golf entertainment experience to the folks in the township of Parsippany. We've, as I mentioned, some of the economic development benefits. This is a multi-million-dollar investment in the community. We've been looking in northern New Jersey for a number of years and are very impressed with the township based on the leadership, the very pro-business attitude, developer-friendly, but also the accessibility and regionality of the site is second to none, with the crossroads of major interstates, and this site is perfectly located for that. So extreme amount of economic development benefits, but community benefits that we'll get into as well. Can we get to the next slide, please? Mr. Chairman, as we've mentioned, most of our customers consider themselves non-golfers. Topgolf has proven to be kind of a gateway to green grass golf, but some people's first introduction to the game. Our goal is to break down those barriers of entry and make golf inclusive for everyone. Whether you enjoy playing Topgolf or golf, or just want to come out and have a nice time with your family and friends, it truly is an entertainment destination. This is just kind of the evolution of the golfer, starting at Topgolf and most of our customer profiles. Next slide. Part of the appeal to Topgolf is what we call the Topgolf Advantage. It's fun, affordable, tech-driven, all-inclusive, and what's great around New Jersey, you can play it all year round. We have climate-controlled hitting bays with heat and fans to keep everybody comfortable during any time of the year. Topgolf takes great pride in getting involved with the community. Our community engagement is not only a top priority and a core focus of our corporate business, but also our folks at the venue itself. We can go to the next slide. One of the big initiatives that we're very proud of and that we'd like to hopefully bring to Parsippany is the Youth Play It Forward initiative. Essentially, as we mentioned, we're trying to grow the game of golf through the youth. This allows any groups that are involved in mentoring the youth, any charities, high school golf teams, free gameplay at the venue during the weekday hours. That's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This has been extremely popular across the country. We started this back in 2017. Very popular with high school golf teams and others as a great opportunity to practice their skills in a high technology golf environment. We're also very proud to be offering discounts for gameplay for active military, veterans, first responders. Got discounts for gameplay, discounts for memberships, something that is one of our core focuses as well as appreciation for the military. Some of our national partners that you may have heard of, Make-A-Wish Foundation. I can't remember how many wishes we've created at Topgolf, but it's hundreds to thousands so far. Folds of Honor, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but that is a scholarship program for widows and children of fallen heroes. And then Bunkers in Baghdad, which will be, can we go back to the previous slide? This is a photo of that. Actually, we donate used golf equipment to troops overseas as a recreational opportunity while they're serving their country. One more, please. And then at the local level, certainly with our venue having 400 plus employees, we get involved in a lot of local causes within the community, and that's one that we like to partner with the township to identify, but non-profit organizations, and really have an opportunity to engage with the community and become a very good corporate citizen as well. So the experience itself, what's Topgolf all about? It can be as much or as little as you want. It can be as competitive or just for fun. We have a lot of programs that we offer for both kids and adults alike. We have certainly programs where we have golf instruction for the youth. That's called our Topgolf Coach. A lot of summer academies for the kids, winter academies. Those are programs that are led by our instructors at Topgolf. We also have opportunities for special charities, fundraiser events, and things of that sort for Topgolf. Birthday parties. We've had everything happen at a Topgolf, from a birthday party to a bar mitzvah to a wedding. So you name it, it's happened at Topgolf before. The venue itself. So if you've been to Edison, if you've been to Austin, if you've been to some of the other venues, this is our brand new prototype. It's very contemporary design, modern look, a lot of visual appeal to it. Very attractive building with a lot of articulation, a lot of glass, gives it a lot of visual interest. This is what we're proposing for Parsippany. Our latest and greatest, we have about 10 or 12 of these open across the country at this time, and it's really resonated with our guests as becoming an enhanced guest experience. Continue to learn from some of our older prototypes to bring the best and the best technology and the best experience we can to our guests, and this is a result of those exercises. But very clean lines, very modern looking, and hopeful that you get a sense of the high quality of the operation.
Mr. Waldo, this is an actual picture of what the signage is going to look like in the...
Yeah, if we can go back, yes. This is a photo of a like venue that we're proposing for Parsippany. So everything you see represented here is what is being proposed as part of this application tonight. There are a number of sign variances, but just gives you a feel for what is proposed for the front of the building. We have other slides to go into a little more detail, This is a representative photo of what we're proposing for Parsippany.
This is the route, this would face Route 80.
That's correct.
80 or 46?
80.
Can we go back to the site plan slide, the second slide, please? I'll just give everybody a little orientation, so.
So that's the back then?
That's the front of the building, but it will be facing 80. There we go.
We'll get into that.
Okay, so the building is composed of a three-story structure. Then we have a, what? Is that working there? Then we have a 5-acre outfield that has in-ground electronic targets as part of the gameplay experience. That outfield is enclosed and surrounded by net poles and barrier netting to keep all of the golf balls contained within the field of play. That will be oriented towards 46. Driveway entrances off of 46, which we'll discuss in more detail as part of the traffic engineer's testimony. But that gives you a orientation of how the building is placed on the site.
I'm sorry, 80's on the bottom?
Yes, sir. 80 is on the south side, which is the bottom of this plan, and 46 is on the north side, on the top of the plan. Target to the right, to the east, and then Smithfield Park to the west. You can see the tennis courts and the ball fields on the left side. Right now, what exists are 4 office buildings on that property and a very expansive parking lot. Any questions just about the orientation real quick or the location?
Just real quick though, so the signage you showed is gonna be at 80, what are you gonna have facing out on 46 or that?
Yes, so we're proposing a monument sign at the main entrance off of 46 that will have Topgolf signage and then some building signage as well.
And all within the township guidelines?
Well, that's part of what we're asking for tonight. Yes, sir.
Just wanna make sure. Thank you.
Can we, sorry, I know we skipped around here. Let's, there we go. We've got some more interior photos to share with you, again, just to give you a sense of scale and quality finishes. This is just the main entry lobby with views into the outfield and the hitting bays, customer service area. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is our 2-story restaurant, bar, and video wall. A lot of people come to Topgolf just to have a meal with their family and friends. This is certainly where you can consume that, but we also offer full food and beverage service at each of the hitting bays as well. Let's keep moving through here. We've got a private event space, about 3,000 square feet that can accommodate up to 150 people. That has access to the T-line, the hitting bays as well. Full audio-visual controls there for full service off-campus meeting for corporate events or other types of private functions. All right, this is a view of the hitting bay. If you don't have golf clubs, that's all right. We've got all of the house clubs and equipment that you would need, all the balls. These bays, there's 102 of these across 3 levels. Each bay can accommodate about 6 to 8 people, and all the technology and whatnot is within that bay for the gameplay experience. All right, another view of the T-line. You can see some of the technology, but also get a view out into the outfield with the in-ground targets. And also you can see in the background the net poles, the netting, and the net poles that are made to be relatively transparent. I have a sample of the netting with me tonight if anybody'd like to see that, but the net poles are sky gray, so they kind of blend in with the background, and the netting itself is more of a dark gray or black color, so it's more transparent in nature. Also mentioned that we've got some pretty unique features as part of this prototype with a rooftop terrace. This has connection to the 3rd level bar. It's used as a lounge area that overlooks the outdoor patio and the other terrace levels. This is a great place to hang out for, again, food or beverage or just for socializing purposes. A view of the outdoor patio, again, just an extension of some of the restaurant and lounge seating, a lot of outdoor yard games that we have here, from cornhole and other things of that sort to accommodate people on a busy night. I know a lot of questions will be, what type of lighting do you have at Topgolf? This is an actual photo from a venue in Glendale, Arizona at night. We don't have stadium lights. We don't have lights mounted on the net poles. There's no lights mounted on top of the building. All of the outfield lights are mounted to the underside of the roof canopy at each hitting bay. Those are angled diagonally towards the field of play in the outfield. All of that light is contained within the property boundaries. This is probably the best illustration of that we could share. There's no light pollution outside of the property boundaries. We'll have a photometric plan that we'll provide as part of the site plan approval that illustrates that. But just to give you that context, there are some ball fields around that have outdoor sports lighting, and that's not the case with Topgolf. Any questions about the lighting before we move forward?
How
Go back.
how much lighting is there going to be on the facade that faces 80? Is it going to be a
Okay.
distraction, the traffic, or? Is
It will not. So the first photo that we shared was a nighttime photo of the front of the building that would face I-80. This would be facing towards 46. So you can see how the light dies out in the outfield. And then we'll have some landscaping along 46 as well to kind of buffer that a little bit as well.
I think the question would be, do you border any of the facade features as it faces 80?
No, can we go back to that first photo of the front of the building? There you, oh, past it.
What are the proposed
There you go.
hours of operation?
Yes, so the proposed hours of operation, our standard hours are Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to midnight. Then we have extended hours on the weekend that can extend to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. This is the actual view from 80. That's what the building looks like. There's architectural lighting, there's some embellishments on the building, but that is the view that will be, motorists will see traveling on the interstate.
That's coming westbound, correct?
West and east. So that will be the view that's facing directly south. So if you're driving on
I'm
I-80,
going west on 80.
You're going to be north of 80.
Yeah, it
You're
will
going north
be
of
on your
80.
right side.
Westbound side, north of 80.
yes, yes.
That's
right.
This be on your right. If we went to Edison, can we see that particular facade?
No, Edison opened back in 2016. Mount Laurel opened in 2018. This is a brand new prototype since then. So there's some similarities to them. And this is, again, a representative of what we're planning for Parsippany. That's an actual photo. All of these photos are actually from
And
Glendale, Arizona.
What's the height of the part that says Topgolf?
Yeah, the highest point on this building is the parapet above the Topgolf. That's about 56 feet, I believe. That's part of one of the variance requests tonight as well. Otherwise, the building's around 50 feet tall. The parapets just bring us above that.
So the building actually acts like a billboard.
Yes.
Well, the building signage is integral to brand awareness, but yes.
This is Glendale, Arizona?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I
It's,
think we'll have to go.
So if you looked it up, how recent is that?
this opened in 2018, the fall of
So in
2018.
all likelihood, Google has it.
I was there last year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this was the first one of its kind of this prototype.
You were at Arizona?
Just out of curiosity, the reasoning for that to be in the back and not the front, rather.
Well, there's a lot of reasons, the way that it fits the site, but certainly for brand awareness along I-80, we're a destination type of use. It's very important for folks to understand what they're driving by, to identify it with the user as Topgolf, but also for exiting purposes off of I-80 as well. It's for brand awareness, especially in a situation where, unlike a ShopRite or a restaurant, this would be the only one in the region. We don't have multiple units that can come into a township or to a city. Think of this as, I think folks have probably been to maybe IKEA down in around the Newark area. This similar type of thing where you have one type of venue like this that would serve a large regional area. So having that brand awareness and having that signage is critical, because a lot of folks in New Jersey and the Northeast, they're very unfamiliar with Topgolf. They pass by this large building, the net poles, and well, what is that? Are those utility poles? And they can't identify what that use is. So this certainly is a way to communicate that to our future guests.
I just want to get straight down. I'm on Route 80, I'm heading west.
This will be on your right-hand side.
Go back
know
to the
that.
site plan.
Is that the corner of the building, or is that the wall that's
Go back
parallel
the
to
site
80?
plan number 2.
Like an angle, looks like.
That wall's parallel with 80. Parallel with 80. So that, I can squeeze in here. Can I have the laser? All right. Yeah. What's that? All right. Can everybody see the laser here?
Got it.
So the photo that we were just sharing is at the front of the building here. So that is facing 80 with a slight orientation. If you're going eastbound, you will see directly into the front of the building.
What would be the treatment of the ends of that structure? It's kind of bowed, I reckon.
Yeah, so that's a solid wall on the end, but obviously what we just shared, the north-facing part is the T-line, so that is an open, essentially open building area for the purposes of the driving range. But the side of the building is closed, usually have egress stairs on the side of the building. And the front of the building, as we've shared the photos, that's representative of the main entry to the building.
So that signage is going to be parallel roughly to 80, as opposed to being perpendicular to the traffic coming.
Yeah, we'll be diving into signage in a little bit more detail, but I'll give you just a quick Cliff Notes version right here. The monument sign we talked about on 46, roughly in this location, by the existing right-in entrance off of 46.
Right.
The signs we just looked at with the photo of the front of the building are located here.
Okay.
There's another sign proposed on that side of the building, and then on that side of the building that would be visible along 46, and then we have a pylon sign that's proposed along I-80 as well, so that when you're driving along I-80, you have that vision of the pylon sign that would be perpendicular to 80 as opposed to the front of the building wall, which would be parallel to I-80.
Isn't there another sign out there on 46?
So the other sign is within the area and faces directly towards the T-line, the hitting bays. It's essentially for just enhancing the guest experience. The back of that sign is blank. There's no signs that, the back of that sign, there's nothing of any sort that has any type of signage. It's just a one-sided sign that faces the T-line itself.
Where's the sign that's roughly 160 or 70 feet long?
160 feet long. No, the sign that's in the outfield is about 58 or 60 feet
Oh, wait a
long.
minute, 68 feet.
There you go. That's it. That's the outfield. The end of the outfield is essentially that
So
sign.
that isn't facing 46 at all?
No, it's a one-sided sign. That's just for the benefit of the guest experience. So if you're in the hitting bays, playing golf and hitting the ball out into the outfield, that would be visible only from the hitting bays. There's no signage facing 46. Just a one-sided sign.
Great.
And all the parking, and there's no parking but to the entrance of the structure up here.
Yeah, we've got some handicap accessible parking
Okay.
close to the main entry as required by the ADA law.
Right.
We have a delivery area on this side of the building. And then the majority of the parking is on the west side with accessibility from 46.
But all the entrance to the facility would be in that beige area up front here, right?
Yeah, so the two existing access points that serve the property today will be maintained as part of this redevelopment, which is a right-in access point here, and then a right-in, right-out access point right there.
Just so I have my bearings straight, the two white structures, is that the diner?
No.
This, right here?
No, up
To
towards.
the left,
Nope, left.
up to 46.
Yeah, a little left
Oh,
there, yes.
Okay, yes, that's the diner.
Okay.
Yes.
No.
Is that the diner?
No.
I'm sorry,
Diner's
that's
the
the
bank.
diner.
That's
That's the
your closed
diner.
bank.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, the
Okay.
Smithfield's right here, if I can see that. So the diner, is that the Empire Diner, is that? Okay.
There's a capital one.
Certainly, everybody knows Panera Bread and Target,
Yeah.
the shopping center over
Okay.
there.
Yeah, no place to go, huh?
Any other questions just about the location itself? Does everybody have their bearings straight on?
The net, is that around the entire thing or just along the sides? I'm not a
Yeah.
golfer, I don't know.
So the netting is along.
Around the whole thing.
And the top.
Yes. So the purpose of that net is just to keep the balls contained
I
within the
understand
building
that.
for safety reasons.
Is it just the sides or is it along
No,
46 too?
the netting is along the perimeter. So on the west side, the north side here, and then it tapers back towards the building on the east side. Can we go back to that photo, the T-line that you can see the nets in the background? Maybe, all right, there we go. Yeah, as you can see, the netting, gets taller in height the further away you go from the building, but then it ties into the side of the building. It's similar on the opposite side of this building as well. And it extends all the way out. The length of this outfield is about 200 yards long. The height of those net poles are approximately 170 feet tall. Because of a three-story structure, that's what's needed to keep those balls contained within the field of play.
I guess that was my question. So you have 3 levels of bays?
Yes, sir.
And how high is the top of the net from the top bay? I got a wicked slice.
That's enough to control your ball, Trish.
I won't
Trust
send my
me.
wife to Target if I'm...
Yeah, so from the ground level, we measure the height of that, the
Okay.
net pole from the ground level, the finished floor elevation. It's 170 feet above that.
Okay.
And there's approximately 25 net poles as part of this too. Again, as you can see, they stair step up from 90 feet tall to transition to 170 feet tall, and then it encaptures the perimeter of the playing surface. Let's go. I know there's some questions about lighting. Any further questions about exterior lighting?
No.
No? Okay. All right, these are some more views. I'll get out of your way so you can see. This is some perspective renderings of what the venue will look like. This is a view from I-80. If you're going eastbound on I-80, that's the view we were talking about, what's visible from 80. That's the front of the building there. That's the parking lot area, 46, and the adjacent uses right there. So that's the view. We have another view from 46. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this is at the primary entrance off of 46. This is the right end, takes you into the parking lot, down to the front of the building. These are the net poles that will be along 46, landscaping as well along that frontage, and then a 385 space parking lot as part of the development.
So it's all open,
Pardon me?
it's all open. The netting's there, you can see through, it's all.
Yes. It's all transparent. You've got, those net poles are probably, 4 to 5 feet in diameter. Again, 170 feet tall at their highest point. I've got a sample of the netting. I'll pass it around if I can just get a little.
We'll mark that as A2.
Pass that around. That is the webbing of the net. It's about a 1-inch net, polyester. If you hold that, we'll do a little demonstration here. If you hold that, whoever wants to be the guinea pig here, I'm not going to throw it at you.
You're going to mark that A3?
So
Try to push the ball.
clearly with the 1-inch netting, the ball is contained within that net. So
We're not marking this, are we, Jeff? We're marking it?
We marked that A2. The ball.
the golf ball to go in.
How often do you have to change the netting up?
Well, we perform inspections on it on a daily basis. Because of the fabric, we have to make sure, some oxidation because of exposure to the sun and everything. We keep extra panels of that on site. Those are breakaway netting as well, so under extreme weather conditions, whether it's wind load or snow or ice load, that netting will break away and fall to the ground so it doesn't put any type of structural pressure on the net poles. That's happened recently down in Florida with the hurricanes that we've had. In Fort Myers, it performed brilliantly. It did exactly what it was designed to do.
Do you have anyone try to climb that net?
Thankfully not. We have security that is on site that cuts down on things after hours, make sure nobody goes onto the outfield or does anything that they shouldn't be doing.
You have security after hours?
Yes, generally have some third-party security between 6 PM and 6 AM. There's always somebody at the venue, whether it's maintenance operations or part of our kitchen staff. There's always something going on there. A lot of the repair to the outfield and a lot of the electrical components happens after hours just because we can't do it during hours with people hitting golf balls at them. So that's a period of time that generally, 1 to 2 hours after the close of business where they go out there and whether retrieve the balls, make any necessary repairs. That's just part of the maintenance and repair program. Any questions about this view or the other? Can we go back to the other view? There we go. Any questions about that? Again, that's just a perspective rendering of what the built condition of these improvements will look like.
Have you done any studies with regard to the lighting? And I think you have, this may be the stupidest question I've ever asked, but you have, how many lanes of highway do you have there? About six, eight, 10, whatever it is. And the development that's across 80, which I believe is heavily wooded between the houses and and Route 80. You don't envision there being any spillover of light into those people's backyards?
Not at all.
Because I think they're the only residences that are.
Are those offices?
I think that's my development across the road.
Where street do you live on?
This side is.
Carlton.
Who?
Carlton,
Carlton.
off of Troy Road.
No, that's off Beverwick.
That's off of Beverwick.
That's off Beverwick.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, all of the ambient light and noise from I-80 will drown out anything that we're producing at Topgolf.
That's why I said I thought it was probably one of the stupidest questions. But I just wanted to get that out in case
Yes, sir.
someone said, well, you're not being fair to the residences across the street.
No, yes,
Now
yes,
that you're
sir.
hearing stupid, I'm gonna try it. No, okay?
Is it Carlton?
All right, yes, sir.
Not tough. But the site to me, when I see it, go back to the screening, please. No, not that one. No, the last one you had.
Route 46.
Route 46, yeah, right there.
Yes,
That's on Route 46.
that's right,
That
yes.
ain't real good looking to me. Only question I have is following, okay?
Yeah.
What if you flip the site?
Yeah, well, we've analyzed that already, and there's a couple of, factors that have led us to this orientation. Number one, from a safety perspective, traffic access with the building that close to the street would be extremely unsafe.
I don't follow that.
Okay, people would have to make a decision almost immediately after they turn in to the parking lot, whether to make a left, to park, loading area, all of that is front-loaded, and a split decision needs to be made. The access, and we have a traffic engineer that can speak in a little bit more detail of that, but from an operational standpoint, because of prevailing weather conditions, wind, sun, afternoon sun, we orient our buildings so that the T-line is always facing north or east. So the afternoon sun doesn't disturb the guest play and damage some of the technology associated with the gameplay, and also the prevailing wind doesn't sweep directly into the hitting bays as well, whether that's wind, blowing rain or blowing snow. So it's for operational purposes as well. So those are the two main reasons. We've looked at both, and this is the only way that it will fit and that we can operate on this property.
Back to the safety issue, the reason that the access becomes more poor is because the hitting bay building is much longer than the outfield. The outfield actually.
Yes, narrow.
Can you go back to slide 2? I keep going back to that one, but that works too. So you see how the building is much wider and it tapers on the outfield to a much smaller linear footage. Flipping that around creates that building width almost taking up the entire frontage on 46. It doesn't really leave any safe reservoir space or access space for the driveways for access to the property.
Got it.
Can you go back to the net? I love the open, buried wired look of 46 that way. Are you burying all the telephone wires? Utility poles, or are they
You know,
staying up in front of the net?
this is a rendering. I
know.
think they're showing some poles in the background.
Further down, yeah.
I don't believe we're doing that. I think all of the existing utilities, the engineer can speak to a little bit more than that. We certainly have underground utility easements, and I know there's some above ground, overhead electrical lines too. That just may not be represented in this rendering because it would take away from the view we're trying to produce here.
Can you describe the experience of the golfer? What technology you haven't described that?
Sure. Okay. Can you go back to the photo of the hitting bay? All right, there you go. I don't know if anybody watches the PGA Tour on TV, but there's a technology called Top Tracer. That is a ball tracking program. We have all of our new venues that we're constructing fully equipped with Top Tracer. So this proposed venue will have that. The technology we're showing here is a little bit dated. The technology that you see with the video screens and whatnot are all integrated into the gameplay. But essentially, if you're hitting a golf ball from your hitting bay, the camera technology and the lighting technology will trace that golf ball wherever it lands, hopefully in a target, but it will trace it wherever it may be. And it'll give you all of your flight path statistics of the ball, how far you hit it, how high you hit it, how much slice you have on it. It's essentially like having your own swing coach in your bay with you. But it's highly interactive and immersive technology that resonates with the golfer and non-golfer alike. It's almost, some kids like it because it simulates almost like a video game experience. But all of our ball dispensers are here. Our new technology integrates the video so that's essentially within that ball dispenser. So the Top Tracer technology, interactive games that you can play, all would be visible from that location on the screen. So right now, some of our technology, people are hitting the golf ball, they're rubbernecking back to look at the screen to see where their ball went. This allows them to follow and track their ball visually. Hopefully, again, it goes into a target, but then to see essentially almost a replay of that on the screen on the ball dispenser that gives you all of those statistics for your ball flight. You can play a simulated golf course here. You can play interactive games like Angry Birds and a lot of other video game type of interactive Topgolf gameplay. Or you can just play traditional Topgolf where you're trying to score points by hitting it into the targets, similar to almost like if you played darts before. The closer you get to the center of the target, the further away you go, the more point scoring you have. It becomes, again, as competitive as you want it or just as loose and fun as you want it as well.
What's the safety mechanism to keep people from stepping over the edge?
Can we go back to maybe the next slide? All right, there we go. All right, so this is what we call our fall protection netting. So essentially with 3 levels, 2 levels are elevated. We can't have guardrails there because that would defeat the purpose of the whole Topgolf driving range component. So we've essentially taken what would be a vertical guardrail or handrail and extended that horizontally from the tee line. This is something that's very consistent with FAA for heliports. Essentially is extended 5 feet out from the tee line, and it's a protection netting that if somebody does fall, it's able to capture, I think, upwards of 500 pounds of weight. And then certainly there's extraction protocol if somebody does fall in there. I'd love to say it never happens, but unfortunately things do happen, but there's a protocol that is in place for safety precautions if it were to happen. But we have found since we've employed this new safety netting procedure, there have been very, very little to no incidents, just a higher safety factor of safety with this fall protection netting. And that will be something that we prepare a detailed package and submit it to the building department because it will be an interpretation that'll be needed because most codes, this is an alternative to the vertical guardrail or handrail, and that will be something that our architect prepares and submits directly to the township building commissioner and engineer for review.
Mr. Waldo, can you describe for us what the staffing is like on the site?
Yeah, so there are a variety of roles here. As I mentioned, we are creating upwards of 400 plus jobs. At any given time during a very peak period, which would be our weekend nights, we could have upwards of 125 employees here. Managerial roles, hourly roles, wait staff. I mean, certainly with a full-service restaurant bar, we have everyone from teenagers to senior citizens working at Topgolf. It's just a fun culture, a fun, nice vibe, competitive wages. It's just a great environment for any person of any age to work. All right, can we go past the renderings? Any other questions? I'm going to transition and introduce our civil engineer, Josh Klein from Stonefield Engineering, to speak to some more of the technical details of the site layout. But any other questions before?
Any other questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a question now. At the peak time, how many guests do you expect?
Yeah, so it's very popular. It's very normal on the weekend nights to have a 2-hour wait or 3-hour wait potentially. But this building, and my architect can confirm this for me, I think it's got the capacity of close to 1,000 people. If you do the math, 102 hitting bays times upwards of 6 people capacity in each bay, and then upwards of 300 or so restaurant seats within the building itself. It can be a busy place. One thing to distinguish about Topgolf is our average guest size. People that are coming to this venue are carpooling. It's 3 or 4 people coming in a car. The average stay is 2 to 3 hours. So there's not a constant churn of vehicles. People are here for a longer period of time. Think of people going to a movie theater, similar type of concept where you're there for that 2 to 3 hours and you're going with a group of people as opposed to driving there separately.
So you said there were 300 and some odd spaces?
385 parking spaces.
And I'm
yes.
sure we'll get testimony that that's going to be enough?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we highly rely on rideshare programs, public transit, for not only our associates but our guests. We have a partnership with Lyft to get people safely to and from their house, and it's quite popular, and I know that's something that's highly utilized in northern New Jersey.
Further questions for this?
Is there any members of the public have any questions of this witness or the testimony given this evening? I hear none, see none.
Okay.
What's your lineup? How many witnesses do you have?
Josh?
We've got 3.
Yeah, so right now I'd like to introduce Josh Klein with Stonefield Engineering. He's the civil engineer of record for this project, and he'll be able to give a short presentation and answer any questions you may have.
Keeping in mind, we bifurcated the application.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, you're going just for the use here.
Well, you got
Yeah.
use and all the C variants.
That's right. So Mr. Klein's going to show you where the signage lays out exactly on the site, so we can
Okay.
get that nailed down.
All right.
And any of the variances, of course, we're still in impervious variance, even though we reduced impervious coverage, it's still a variance.
Right.
So he'll speak to that very quickly.
I forgot to ask, in terms of the netting, in terms of the other communities that you're located in, is there any liability to the community? The golf ball gets through the net. It must happen.
Sometimes the balls may go under the netting if the skirt's not put in there properly, but anything that happens on the Topgolf site, certainly that's something that we're responsible for. Our management is very proactive, very vigilant about that type of stuff. We have inspections of the netting, again, on a daily
The
basis.
time wanted to say we're whole harmless. If something
Yeah,
happens, that's not a problem.
No, that's a problem. Who are we holding harmless?
The town.
Township.
The town.
Yeah, if a ball goes out on Route 46 and they come sue
What is
us,
the town's involvement?
well, they would sue you, they would sue the board, the town for allowing it. You could get a
They
suit.
would sue the town and the board for a while.
Sue a ham sandwich too,
Yeah.
couldn't you?
That's for everybody. I mean, is that an issue or not?
Any incidents happen in the past?
No, sir. Things are very, very rare. Very rare that anything happens.
And if we slough it off, it'll happen, that's right.
And very rare means it does happen, it just doesn't happen a lot.
There's always exceptions to things happening. In the east coast of the community, ball's not going to travel quite as far. again, with the technology and the learnings of the past, we've had those net poles extended to 170 feet to, prevent those types of things from happening. Certainly when we were starting out, the poles might have been a little bit shorter, and we've learned from those lessons based on trial and error and flight path trajectory studies, and have made those appropriate adjustments.
But you have the liability insurance if something did happen, is that correct?
Certainly, we cover insurance, yes.
There's no municipal involvement in the site. There's no municipal property surrounding this. And there's no cause of action against zoning or planning boards for approving uses.
Well, I'll give you this, that I've been in a number of litigations where inspectors for towns have been sued because they came to close out a underground heating oil tank in a town, in a residential home. And they sued.
Well, that's a specific cause of action based upon.
Yep, so I've also been involved where they've sued the zoning boards, the planning boards for approval of dry cleaners or certain uses that created injury to a third party. So there's potential for it. And I guess
Did anybody win?
No, Title 59. They survive. They don't survive summary judgment because you have Title 59 immunities. But I think the question is there? It's a fair question that the planner asked.
I don't see any legitimate causes of action that he would be giving general waivers or signing liability.
Maybe the site is right exactly on the highway.
Well, they have liability insurance for that, and that's the whole reason for the netting.
Okay.
It would be absurd without wet netting anyway. I mean, you couldn't be doing that.
I think, Joe, it may be something we can discuss. There's probably a fix to it.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
You swear on that?
No, sir, raise your right hand. You swear firm testimony about to give before the board is yourself you got. For the record,
do.
Can you
Yes.
state and spell your name?
Josh Klein, Kline, Stonefield Engineering and Design, 92 Park Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey, 07007.
And all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes,
You've been qualified either before this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
I have, yes.
Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn and qualified as an expert. Engineering.
Fine. If you very briefly, using the slide currently being projected, identify where the signage is located, so we can nail that down for the board.
Yes, it's no problem. I'll be very, very quick tonight. So again, we have 80 on the left-hand side of the screen or to the west. And then we have 46 on the right-hand side of the screen. Again, the building I'm highlighting is the object in yellow. So there is a monument sign by the entrance. By the northern entrance on the top right corner. That was shown in one of the renderings as you come in. Again, there's the sign that's shown at the edge of the kind of hitting area. And so that sign's kind of contained within the netting. So it's not along 46, it's not facing 46, it's kind of contained within the hitting area. And then there is a pylon sign located at the back of the site. And I think the key there is that the sign is kind of perpendicular to I-80 versus where the building runs kind of parallel. And then there is the signage kind of along the back of the building, the left-hand side facing I-80. And there are signage at both the top and the bottom. I think the big thing, what we look at from a site civil engineering perspective, and again, this project will go into site plan approval next. And that's where I probably will do the majority of my talking is, we did prepare preliminary engineering plans. And I think the key really here is that we show that, this site, this use and kind of what we're proposing here tonight, it can be safely accommodated on this property.
Could I interrupt 1 second? We have architect renderings of signs. Are they up to date with the new building?
Correct,
Says
yes.
tenant, that'll be Topgolf?
Correct.
But the profile, the configuration of the building and what have you is the new version that you explained. It's now in Glendale, Arizona, but not in Edison.
So the photos that we have shared and also the renderings that you have in your hand
Yes, sir.
are representative of the same building. This, certainly what we have shared tonight on the PowerPoint slide has been Topgolf specific signage that indicates tenant signage. There's one exception to that we will share. There we go. And this is a relatively new addition. I mentioned that we have an added feature at Topgolf venues now, which is the Top Tracer technology. We have added a tagline sign. If you can see on this slide, Topgolf signs is identical to what you've seen previously, just with the tagline underneath that says "Powered by Top Tracer." It's about a 50 square foot or so, I mean, say 60 square feet, a 60 square foot sign. That's a tagline to the Topgolf word mark. That's the distinction between the plans that you have that were submitted and then what we're sharing tonight. Because this is, again, we've only added this on a few projects, with the first one back in just last month in Louisville, Kentucky. And this is a photo from that Louisville, Kentucky location. That was the first one where we added this type of signage on this type of building.
The other change is you see the logo, the shield, that's also incorporated into the entrance area that's going to be facing Route 80. And of course, under your local ordinances, that would be considered part of the sign.
Correct.
So that's
lit, correct?
Yes, we can, yeah,
we have that photo in
yeah, can you go back to, I forget what slide it was, we've talked about it a few times. That is actually an architectural embellishment. The architect can speak a little bit more about that, but that is essentially engraved into the exterior building materials. It's not a physical sign, as the channel letters for the Topgolf word mark is essentially an architectural embellishment with architectural lighting.
Now, that symbol is the same symbol as we saw in the daytime photo? No.
Yes, that's correct. So this a nighttime photo that has the architectural lighting around some of the perimeter of the building, and then that illustrates. We'll show this. Everybody can look at this photo to get that picture in your mind, and then we'll go back to the daytime photo.
I'm having a tough time getting a grip on that symbol. In the daytime, it looks, golf.
There you go. It's a shield logo. It's essentially a target with a pin flag in it. That's what it is.
And it's rounding the corner on the
Yeah.
front. You can see
This,
turning.
But
yeah,
when you see it lit, I don't know if anybody else.
this wraps two wall planes. It's kind of on a corner of the building. It's kind of a dynamic look to it that gives it some visual interest, but it's harder to see in the daytime. The nighttime photo, I think it's illustrated a little bit better because it's illuminated around the.
I mean, straight out.
Technology, what can.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
So
President.
Josh, we've got that sign, which is different than what's on the exhibit, but we do have the signs on the sides of the main building.
Correct. There are additional Topgolf signs kind of at the ends of the hitting bays.
We don't have those on the rendering, right?
They're on there.
They're on the road.
Correct. They're shown as part of the elevations that were submitted.
They are similar to the sign on the.
Oh, they're the little red boxes on the thing? Okay, got it.
Yep.
This is the scale then, right?
That's the scale for that.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right.
I see it right up in
Similar
that
to what's
corner.
on the front of the building, it's just a word mark.
Yeah, I got it.
Slightly smaller, that wall plane is smaller. So it's, instead of a 4 or 5 foot tall channel letter, I can't remember what that says, but it's under 3 feet.
And as I mentioned, last question.
Thank you.
Roof wall, side elevation of the building, similar.
As I mentioned, we're reducing the impervious coverage, but we're still on the variance.
Correct. I think, that's one of the improvements about the project is we are reducing the impervious coverage on site. And I think the real benefit you see there is, when we start talking about stormwater, naturally we're reducing runoff, we're cleaning the water on site. The project is a major development, so will require stormwater management. We will have to treat the water. The initial kind of plans as submitted, we show using, porous pavement systems in order to kind of filter and treat the water before we discharge it, as well as
Cover that all over the site.
a bioretention. All of this will be part of the site plan.
I have a question about the, you were seeking a Highlands exemption from the Highlands Council, if I recall from the correspondence?
Correct.
Have you heard anything from them?
We have not.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The Highlands.
Oh, Highlands.
Right. they were seeking an exemption, but we haven't heard back yet.
So I have no further questions for this witness. We'll save the parking questions for the next one.
Any questions by the board?
Yeah, it's going back to the signs that are on the net facing the bays. So the backside of that is black, you said? All right, because it's not on that, there's not on that rendering there. Well, I'm just wondering, you're just going to see a black sign on 46 is all I'm asking. Or will there be Top Golf on there as well?
No, there won't be anything shown on the sign. You can kind of see it in the rendering. You know, there's some existing, and again, this is just a representation, but there are existing trees. Anything that we can protect along 46, we will. We're also showing, just on the preliminary plans, again, in site approval, we'll fill this in, but we're showing kind of new trees being planted, as well as looking at potentially kind of introducing some evergreens in that area too. So you won't see a black panel,
Okay.
It'll definitely be a mix of landscaping.
Gotcha.
Just to confirm, there's no freestanding sign on 80, it's just the wall-mounted sign.
Oh, there is.
There is a freestanding.
There's a pylon sign along 80. There's
tall is that?
I believe it's 50 feet.
How tall?
50 feet.
The building is what, 50?
The parapet is approximately 56 feet. And then again, on 46 is a monument sign. I believe it's about 10 feet tall.
It's like,
50 foot tall by how wide?
Get the exact, I want to say 6, but let me double check that.
29 long?
Oh, no, the monument sign. Right, that's it, you're.
no, he's talking about the pile.
Oh, 80,
pylon.
sorry.
12 feet, is that?
60 feet high, dimensions are what, sir?
50 feet high, it's 12 feet by
68?
68 feet.
So I guess my question earlier about why the building was facing back that way onto 80, the answer was because it's to be seen, obviously, right? You want the advertising, quote unquote, to be seen from the building. So having another sign there, isn't it kind of redundant?
Yeah, I think it was explained well by Mr. Waldo. I think, there's the parallel element of the building, but this sign is perpendicular, so, and again, as people are moving on 80, that building being parallel, might not be something that kind of catches them in terms of kind of what they're looking for, where this sign it's very easy to read, and it's kind of perpendicular to the path of traffic.
You really think people aren't gonna see the sign on that building that size along Route 80?
Well, there's 10 lanes of traffic.
Correct.
That sign,
You can probably see from home.
bigger than the billboards.
I get it.
No.
Do the math.
This sign
Yeah.
will be visible, correct.
The building will
Bigger
too.
than the billboards is what Mr. Chadwick was saying, the billboard signs.
The building is bigger than a billboard, correct.
This sign,
This sign is.
Reason,
this pylon sign will be bigger than a billboard sign that you see.
Correct, the sign will be, yes.
Why so big, medium?
Will not be bigger than a billboard sign. Billboard signs are usually 10, 12 feet tall by 30 feet wide.
billboards are 14 by 48. You do the math. 672 square feet. How big is that one?
The dimension's a little bit different. We have a billboard sign a little bit smaller.
We need to get this on record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to-
Although, why don't you come up? And I'm gonna warn you, this board has current experience with billboards.
Yeah, not positive. Well,
You mentioned. the
You heard
billboard
it
signs.
before.
The billboard
Not
dimension
positive
that
for the
you were
applicant.
referencing-
I couldn't understand what you
You mentioned the billboard dimension you were referencing was 14 feet by 48 feet,
Yes.
14 feet tall by 48 feet wide,
Yeah.
is that correct? Yeah, this sign is obviously not that
12
same
by
size, but
68.
it's a large sign. So we understand there's some concern there. We'd be happy to make it smaller, so it won't be comparable to what one may think of as a billboard. I can do that calculation, but the
Can you
the
make it the
height,
size of a billboard?
well, that's a pretty large.
You're over,
Smaller than that.
You're over that now.
you're bigger.
Well, our dimension of if I can read that correctly, is 5 feet tall by 28 feet by,
That's what we
round-
said.
rounded to 29 feet.
We're not talking about the monument.
Talking on the Route 80
That's
side
mine.
or 46 side?
Yeah, you guys were asking about the pylon sign, right?
No, Route 80.
The big sign.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's the pylon. That is this sign that you're seeing on the right side of the paper, 50 feet tall. The dimension of that, if I'm reading that correctly, is 5 feet tall by 28 feet 9 inches.
And what's the 12 by 68?
That is the outfield sign that is facing
Not
the
visible.
T line. That's not visible from any public right of way. That's correct.
Whatever the dimensions were, we got.
Yes, so if we can read that out, that sign is 12 feet tall by 68 feet wide. So that is the sign at the end of the outfield that faces the T line, that's only visible from the customers in the T line.
Isn't it set down a little bit too?
Yes, the height of that, I can't read above ground. I think it's maybe 10 feet above ground or so. It's a to be determined. Where we've installed that previously, it's anywhere from elevated 10 to 15 feet above ground, and then it's 12 feet. The sign itself is 12 feet tall by 68 feet wide. So if that was your referencing, that is similar to the size of the billboard, but that is not visible from a public right of way. It is a one-sided sign facing the building
Visible
itself.
only inside the facility.
You got it, yeah.
So
And
it's
then-
not, I'm sorry.
And then the big sign that we're talking about outside is gonna be 50 feet high, 28 feet long and 5 feet, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
can I-
in the air 50 feet, but it's gonna be 28 feet by 5 feet, correct?
Yeah, so just.
That's the one on the bottom right.
That's correct. So this is the outfield sign, 12 by 68. That's along 46,
Yep, got it.
only facing the
Good, we're
building.
good, we're good.
This is the pylon sign we're talking about on I-80. That is 50 feet tall, 5 foot height by 28 feet 9 inches.
And I think that is the sign that we probably have concern with.
50
That
feet.
sign, if we can go back to
right side.
the site plan, this, if you can go back to the colors, there we go. All right, so one more time here. Monument sign is located here.
Yeah.
That's 46. The outfield sign is located here,
Yep.
facing and only visible from the T line. We've gone through the front building elevation signage,
Yep.
talked about the signage on the side of the buildings.
Yep.
And the pylon sign, that 50-foot tall sign is right here. And that would be
50 foot is
perpendicular to I-80 and visible by motorists that are traveling east or westbound on I-80.
And 50 feet was determined by what? I mean, why 50 feet high?
Well, there's some vegetation along there for visibility, with the road elevation and the site elevation, that would be something that would be visible, by motorists that are traveling of, more than 50 or 60 miles per hour.
And the building itself isn't enough?
Pardon me?
The building
The sign in the
itself
building.
is not
Yeah,
enough?
the tallest point of the building is 56 feet, just the orientation of that. So if I'm traveling,
Has been a long go.
if I'm traveling westbound
Yep.
on I-80,
Yep.
I won't see that sign until I'm past it and I'm rubbernecking back to see it. If I'm traveling eastbound on I-80, I will see it because of if you see the orientation of the building,
Yeah.
that is the front of the building where the sign is located. So I see it going one direction.
I think
but
you
not the
said
other.
you were open to reconsideration, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
So,
Top Golf is how many letters?
well, go back and we'll show you.
7, right?
There you go.
And
Go back to the sign.
we got a lot of space on that big sign, that pole sign, that doesn't seem to be used.
If the board would consider it, we can make that sign smaller. I think the height of that sign is important so that it's visible from a distance, and that kind of cues the motorist or the guest to, hey, I've got to get off at this exit.
What we'll do is we'll ask the traffic engineer, how far away can you read a sign
Sure.
on the size of the letters?
Yep.
Comes right out of the.
We've done a lot of sign studies on this. And this
Chapter
is
42, page 71.
Any other questions about signage? I know we've gone back and forth on that. We do have a planner that can speak in more detail to that. But any more questions for civil engineering?
Any more questions for the engineer?
I guess I do have one more.
Questions for this?
It might be but for Mr. Waldo again. I apologize if it is. So you were talking earlier about the number of parking spots and the need to see people drive by need to see that Topgolf is here in this location. But then you also said that there's a 2 or 3 hour wait and there's kind of carpooling. So not too many people are going to drive by Route 80, see Topgolf and say, I'm going to get off here and go play. It would be more of a planned outing anyway, right?
Yeah, as a destination, people will be coming to this venue potentially from an hour away. They may not be familiar with the area and the roadway network. Everybody certainly has their electronic gadgets to navigate to and from, but having the visibility that I've arrived at Topgolf, I need to get off at this exit, and physically seeing the Topgolf sign to identify such that that motorist or the guest will know where to go is important to us. And having that brand awareness is very important to us as well.
I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that it's as much, if not more, marketing than it is building awareness. Like between GPS, seeing that massive structure, knowing that you're going there, and it's not an, oh, by the way, I think I'll go to Topgolf right now.
Well, the other part of that is we have competitors out there that have similar types of operations. So you may want to go to a Topgolf, you may want to go to a Drive Shack or something like that. This distinguishes us from our competitors by having that brand awareness.
I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just
Yeah.
saying we have to acknowledge that this is a large part marketing and probably less so, how do I get to the building?
Well, it's both. I would say it's both.
2022. I enter it into Waze and it takes me right there.
Yeah, but still people are visual creatures. They want to see where they're going, not just staring at their phone.
To that point, I just have one more question too. If they're going westbound on 80 and you want them to see the sign, where do they have to get off? What's your plan? I know there's a traffic thing.
We got a traffic
Okay,
engineer that
good.
can speak to that in a little bit more detail.
Are we gonna have the architect, here as a witness tonight?
They are here tonight. If there's any questions from an architectural design perspective or things of that sort, they are here to testify if necessary.
But hopefully not, right?
I have no further questions for Ms. Woodruff.
And I don't think the board does. And any members of the public have any questions of this witness? I hear none, seeing none.
Peter made a good point. These proof signs on the side, we gotta keep in mind
Do you swear a firm testimony about to give before the board, so yourself you got?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Yes, my name is Matthew Seckler. That's S-E-C-K-L-E-R. I'm with Stonefield Engineering Design. Address is 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
And your testimony will be, traffic,
Yes, it will.
and all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes, they are.
And you've been sworn either before this board or other boards of the state of New Jersey?
I've been for this board and over 150 other boards as a traffic
Thank you.
engineer.
Mr. Chairman, the witness is sworn as an expert and qualified.
So very quickly, let's talk about the access, to the site.
Yes, so the site today has access via two driveways. One is a right ingress driveway located on the western side of the site, and a right in, right out driveway generally in the center of the site when you're looking at the frontage along Route 46. The site today is developed with medical office and office buildings totaling a little bit over 100,000 square feet. When we look at it from a traffic perspective, those office and medical office buildings peak what you would imagine typically during your rush hour time periods. People coming to work, people leaving work, going to their doctors in the middle of the day. That is when the site, when it was fully operational. Obviously, it's not fully operational now, but that's when that site peaked. Route 46 is a heavy directional roadway, much higher traffic in the eastbound in the morning, which is our frontage, higher traffic westbound in the evening. As you heard from the applicant in terms of trip generation, the peak hours of a use like this is outside of typical peak hours of Route 46, especially the direction of traffic. This is not a site that gets a significant amount of their peak volume, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, when really that's the traffic along Route 46 along this side of the road. So overall, from a trip generation standpoint, I would say this is more consistent, or I'd say it is filling the gaps in capacity better than the current, the site previously operated. The site previously peaked when the roadways peaked, this site peaks outside of the typical roadway peaks for this section of Route 46. In terms of other approvals, DOT, we've applied for a letter of no interest to the DOT. They indicated they agreed with our chip generation that this will not be a significant increase in traffic compared to the previous uses. They wanted us to ensure, before they issued the approval, that the driveways would maintain exactly as is. That is DOT's requirement. In order to maintain a permit, you cannot make any improvements within DOT right-of-way. You could repair in place, in kind, but you cannot change dimensions of the driveway. So again, what you see on the plan here are the exact dimensions that operate the site today, and we believe, based on this operation, we'll be able to accommodate that traffic as well. There was testimony provided, and again, I'll just echo it in terms of why the site is facing this direction from a traffic point of view. I think it was hit on that the width of the Top Golf building and where you're basically hitting your shots from the bay, if you flipped it around, it'd leave you basically limited or no access really to have ability for vehicles to come in, and they basically have to be parking all along the 80 side. So again, from a traffic point of view, be able to maintain the two existing driveways is a benefit, and again, the lower trip generation. Heard a number of questions, while we're talking about how people are getting to the site, I think there was a question about, I don't know if it was westbound traffic or eastbound traffic. Essentially, if you're on 80 and you're heading westbound, you'd be getting off at the Smith Road interchange, work yourself through, and you basically get yourself to 46 eastbound, enter the site from 46 east. If you're going in the eastbound direction at 80, you'd be getting off at Beverwick, going to the light at 46, making the left, having to go through the jug handle at Baldwin, and work yourself back towards 46 eastbound. So again, this site is accessible through your normal interchanges up and down Route 80. Lastly, parking, I've heard a lot of discussion about it. Again, you heard from the applicant in terms of the operator who's done a number of these sites, and obviously it's part of their business to make sure they have sufficient parking, and they have other sites of similar parking as we've seen here. You know, even at a max capacity of 1,000 people, when you consider the large amount of carpooling, the fact that this is not, everybody arriving alone, when you're talking about an evening activity, you have people going to dinner, going as couples, going as families, going as carpooling, that really helps cut down on the amount of cars that are utilized on a site like this. In addition, as they mentioned, they have a partnership with Lyft. I know, again, as my generation and younger, when you are enjoying some alcoholic beverages, there is definitely a trend to use ride-sharing type mechanisms, or obviously utilize a designated driver, which again helps reduce the parking load on site. For employees, there's obviously a wide range of employees, but obviously some employees may be those that either don't own personal cars, or someone else may be using it at the same time. We do have the bus stop that's located at the Baldwin intersection, and obviously the more municipal lot that's located at the Beverwick intersection as well. So we are actually well-served by mass transit, which is not always the case in some suburban locations that Topgolf is built within. So that is an option as well. So
Applies?
yeah, so when we looked at the parking analysis, and we actually broke down the individual uses of the building and looked at the fact that there are offices in this building, there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's the recreational aspect, the obviously golfing aspect, the pro shop, which you could consider a shopping center, and then the kind of the locker rooms that are used in the site as a health and athletic club. We break down each one of those uses that are occupying this site. We actually are considered compliant with the parking that the ordinance has. And again, we are providing 300, I think it's 84, 85, and with that breakdown of each individual use, the requirement would be about 248, 249, depending on when you do your rounding. So overall, from a parking standpoint, we believe that we actually are compliant when you look at all those uses. And again, the applicant has walked you through all the various components, the restaurants, the bars, all the patios, all of that we've accounted for in the way that we've counted our parking summary by breaking down each one of those uses.
I have no further questions for this witness.
More questions? Yeah. It just doesn't seem like there's enough parking. I mean, You said you could have 200 employees, correct? Is that the right number?
I think the number, well, that might have been that they employ overall. I believe the
believe
max
it's
peak was
400 total.
100 to 125 was the peak shift if there's a busy Friday.
So you
night.
have 100 and some odd employees.
Yep.
Most of them probably are not carpooling, wouldn't you think?
There may be some kitchen staff that may be carpooling and back of house.
There's no train, the bus isn't great, so most people will be driving. You said there could be 1,000 people there on a night.
I believe the 1,000 people was related to some of the building load, which would include the employees in that as well. So again, in the rule of thumb for a lot of, restaurants, bars, I'm going to say banquet halls, those type of entertainment venues, you typically sometimes utilize a parking ratio of 1 car per 3 people. And 1,000 people, that comes out to about 333 parking spaces, which again, we're at 384. So we're, again, some 1 per 3, some 1 per 2, some could be 1 per 4, 4 people in a single car, but basically you're right around that number of 384 parking spaces, which is what we provide on site.
Was a parking deck ever considered?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, I'm the traffic engineer. I don't know when they were looking at the site if that was considered.
It complies, so no parking there.
Gotcha.
Do you know how big the building is, square footage?
Let's see, I have,
I believe the boss does. How many? 68,000.
That's
Sorry, John.
footprint.
that's, that counts every floor, like a floor
Everything,
area.
Staircases, everything.
Yes, back of rooms, kitchens, things like that.
You have parking for EVs, I think I saw somewhere in here, 20 or so.
Yes, we are providing, I believe, 28 EV parking spaces.
What about, I've heard Lyft, Uber, rideshare, whatever you call it, mentioned a couple times tonight. Do you have separate parking for them?
There is an ability, if you look at the area near the bottom here, that could be utilized for kind of a pickup, drop-off location, but we don't have the specific parking stalls for them. So again, that would be beyond the 384 actual stripe spaces, but there'd be the ability to, again, if it becomes a popular Lyft destination, which again, it sounds like the applicant has, they have partnerships with Lyft, that would be the ability for them to stack and wait or drop off and not disturb the parking.
Okay, and for previous testimony, you're gonna have one entryway, right? Right turn only in, is that correct?
We have entry in,
Yep,
then in and out is
in
the,
and out.
In and out.
Okay, so, if I'm coming there, obviously the first entry is gonna be the one that's entry in, okay?
yes.
So majority of your traffic is gonna start going in there. Now, my concern would be you have little or no backup area out on the 46 for overflow, okay? I mean, I think you guys are gonna be quite successful, and I believe, as Ms. Jasmine said, I'm very concerned about the parking, total parking, so, and I know you got the numbers and you're in compliance by this traffic study, but with 100 employees and then 1,000 people there, okay? At good success times, 385 parking places ain't gonna cut it, in my personal and professional opinion, as well. So, but back to the question. What happens if they're stacked, they're coming into that driveway, and they're trying to get in the parking places? So all the parking places are right off that one entryway?
So in talking with the applicant, because when we evaluated this layout, is what we likely would do is the first parking spaces as you enter, because they're actually the least convenient to the building,
Yeah.
would likely be employees' parking spaces, so those spaces would not have turnover, because I agree with you, one of my concerns would be someone backing out of these spaces
Right,
at a
that's
time
why-
where it's peak. So that, again, we could work with your engineer, the board, designate whether it's 10, 15, whatever those first set of spaces, because honestly, we want to keep the spaces close to the building for the customers, and that space is as far from the building as possible, so that should be for the
That'd be
employees.
a nice enforcement problem for you.
So the traffic study, was that, I mean, again, I don't know what the impact will be to this question or not, but was that considering what we just went through with the Chick-fil-A and the traffic that's going to be out there on 46 due to the Chick-fil-A coming in there, and then everybody's going to be turning around to get to Chick-fil-A, to get to Topgolf? It's, again, they're both successful businesses, I'm sure. I just think it's going to create a bit of havoc right there, is just my opinion. It's just something to think about. I don't know if they did the
It's less
study.
traffic than the office operation capacity.
I think most of those are empty at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, at this point, yes, but obviously, in the, when it was fully open, that was obviously a significant parking field you saw. Those were people coming basically all together in the morning and all leaving together at night, except, maybe some visitors in the middle of the day.
Your traffic study didn't really refer to any of the experiences of Topgolf, right? You were more,
We utilized, I would say, the trip generation rate that's typically associated with just driving range. Now,
right,
we did also look at if we were, let's say, a driving range plus all the restaurant space that's within that building. So if we considered, I think it's about 300 seats worth of restaurant and bar space. So even if we were the driving range type of use from a trip generation standpoint and added all of the restaurant use from a trip generation standpoint, we would still be less trips than what the existing site generates. The one other aspect
I'm
is that...
not concerned about
Okay.
the trips. I'm
Okay.
concerned the same question's been asked. You get all these people on here, and it's 2 people per car, we got a problem. If we got 3 people per car, we're okay. And how do we deal with this? Because you basically got to use variance. Some places, you're gonna get, hopefully you'll get an approval. At some point, we're gonna say how many seats can be in that restaurant. How much space is gonna be used for a gym or whatever else is in there.
So again, based on the architectural
Your
plans,
report that definitive?
so, no,
There are Topgolfs with less parking,
yes, there are.
and there are Topgolfs with more parking.
Yes, there are.
Based on your comparisons to Topgolf operations, what we're proposing here, is this gonna work? I think the question everybody is asking is this thing gonna work? Are we gonna put it in? And are we gonna have people lined up down 46 trying to get in the site, as Mr. Braswell said, or cars overflowing? Just tell me.
Yes, the parking will work for this operation.
And that's based on Topgolf operation
Yes, based on,
review.
yes, existing sites. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't been able to travel to all of the Topgolfs, but I do know they have operating sites that have sufficient parking for the peak periods of time that have less parking than this, and the same amenities as this site. So same number of bays, same number of restaurants.
So
I'm
sorry, Scott, but occupation-wise, occupant-wise, did you look at those numbers, and it's not always 1,000 people in there?
No.
Correct.
That'd be peak.
I mean, I would look at the Edison site and say the regional population density is similar to here. The highway system is not quite as complex and sophisticated as here, but it's there.
It's close. They got the Parkway and 287
No,
there.
Laurel is
and
totally
one.
different world.
Yes.
So the Edison one is, how big is the parking lot of that one?
I think that one is in the low 400 range, so probably 415, something in that range.
I doubt we'll finish tonight, right, Joe? Oh, we will.
I was holding out hope, but we're running out of time.
Maybe we could get the answer to that one, because I would think as I said, the population density, the highway system, everything, not exactly the same, but, and the wait time that you think you'll have on Saturday night is
2 to 3 hours.
how long?
That was,
It was 2 to 3 hours of stay time, right?
But you can make appointment, you can make reservations, can't you?
That's right.
You can make
We wore it out.
You don't just show up. It's not that.
Yeah, just for parking, we've got similar venues outside of Atlanta, Georgia, Dallas, Texas. I live, 15 minutes from a venue in Dallas, Texas that has much higher population in this area and has less parking, functions and operates just perfectly. I wouldn't be investing multi-millions of dollars to bring a Topgolf to a new market if I didn't think it would operate appropriately and have enough parking. I mean, that's essentially the synopsis of it. It will function properly based on empirical data from other Topgolfs and our operational knowledge from operating over 86 of these worldwide.
The only concern is, the concern here is it is right on the highway. In and out is
Most of
on
our
the
locations are all along interstate-based locations because they're destinations. So
Edison one is off.
It's off the.
Edison's a little bit different, yeah, on US 1, but that's a pretty highly traveled roadway as well. Most of our locations are more interstate-based, again, because of the regional destination. So whether that's, and the one I cited in Atlanta, Georgia, one in Dallas, Texas, are all off major roadways that have far higher roadway capacity than I-80.
So on the screen, could you go to the picture that shows the adjacent property that is west?
That's Smithfield.
There you go.
No, the diner was there,
No, that's a capital.
the bank. So is there a way to have parking for employees at the adjacent lot, that they could have a deal with the adjacent neighbor just to take some load off of your property?
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's your business. You want it to succeed.
Sure.
You're not gonna put it in where you can't get your customers, but we still have to.
Yeah, we certainly can explore that, but I think the testimony tonight is that based on the traffic study, based on parking demand studies, we are compliant with code, but we want it to be successful. We don't want to bring something here that's going to be operationally under stress. So if the need arises where there's some offset parking that's necessary, we don't feel that it would be, but there could be opportunities.
The clients you mentioned, mostly or some or a little by appointment?
There's a reservation system, yes, sir, that
And
you
what
can
would
reserve
say the population on a Saturday night came in?
Yeah, we're trying to make that more mainstream for the reservations, but we have a lot of corporate events that are booked. We have what we call walk-ins who come in with no reservations or no events, and there's a certain percentage of that. But a lot of people.
That's what I'm trying to get to. How much of that is?
I don't know the exact breakdown, but more and more reservations. Yeah, there's more than probably 50% with reservations or some type of event, and less than 50% that are walk-ins. And usually with the walk-ins, the extended wait, 2 to 3 hours, there's overflow space within the restaurant or the bar. Again, some people come and they don't want to take part in the Topgolf game experience. They're not going to a hitting bay. They're just coming to watch a game or have a meal with family or friends. So that's not essentially the wait time for all of the accessory uses within the building. It's more of the wait to get into a hitting bay itself, which not all of our customers want to do.
Mr. Chairman, along these lines, we'd like to offer this as an option. After approval, once the site is open, if there are operational problems relating to the parking, we will commit to enter into a post-approval agreement with the neighboring property to provide additional parking.
It's off-site parking.
Yes, additional off-site parking.
Okay.
50% of the people come and do you anticipate, to your point, 100 cars?
In the early stages, once you're open for the first time, do you anticipate the excitement resulting in wait lines on 46?
Yeah, I was just, I was actually looking back because I know a lot of operators, when they bring new things to market, they will inform the police, potentially have some police presence to assist with getting people on and off a site when you have that first opening week, or opening weekend type of thing. So I was looking back to see if that's something they've done when they've come to other markets. But again, that's something that's happened, obviously, in the past, for other projects that I've worked on, not this one.
Well, I think his question was off-site improvement on the highway, another lane in there.
Well, there certainly is a honeymoon period during grand opening, but we would work with public safety to ensure safe passage for ingress and egress. That's generally never a problem. The wait that we have is to get in the building within the lobby area just to get into a hitting bay, not traffic that's generated along the roadway. So we don't envision that being a problem, but we certainly will work with public safety officials to have a game plan or traffic management if that were to be the case. But I don't anticipate that to be the case, and certainly by the testimony tonight by the traffic engineer, we don't foresee that to be a concern.
They're all company owned, right? They're not,
Yeah, all of
Franchised.
our venues domestically are corporately owned. That's
are
correct.
you affiliated, so you have the one in Morristown, the suites?
No, that's not us.
So that is not you?
We may license some Top Tracer technology to them, but that is not a Top Golf venue. As I mentioned, there are some, competitors out there, which is the importance of distinguishing ourselves, not just seeing tall net poles and saying.
No, they're only suites, they're indoor.
Yes, so probably just golf simulator suites, yeah.
Any members of the public have any questions over recent testimony by either of these two witnesses? Hear none, see none. We got time for another one?
I think we do, because he's gonna go very fast, aren't you?
I don't have a choice. I can do that. Sir, could you raise your right hand? You swear firm testimony about to give before the board is true self you got?
Yes, I do.
For the record, could you state and spell your name?
Sure. TJ Ricci, R-I-C-C-I.
How do you spell that?
R-
T-E-J-A-Y?
T-J.
T-J, okay. Last name?
Last name Ricci, R-I-C-C-I.
And your testimony will be?
Professional planning.
Okay, and all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes, they are.
And you've been sworn either before this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn and qualified.
So you have examined the local ordinances and master plan, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You are fully familiar with the application as it's being presented before the board?
Yes.
I wonder if you could give us your findings regarding the merits of this application. Spend a little bit of time going over that sign.
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So obviously, it sounds like the board, you've heard extensive testimony from the applicant and our professionals so far about, what we're intending to do on the site. Up here, we have a little aerial exhibit that shows the project site. It's outlined in black here. The first thing that you notice is a very large piece of land. It's 10-plus acres in site. It's one of the largest pieces of land along this area. It's actually 2 lots, 2 through lots. We're fronting 46 to the north, and then Route 80 to the south. So we're here tonight seeking a use variance for this sports entertainment use. And this is not a use in the code that's prohibited in this area. It's silent on the use because it's a pretty unique use. It's not generally, it's not always contemplated in, non-residential office, commercial districts throughout a municipality. But we do think it is still very compatible and will fit in with this commercial corridor in the area. As the board probably understands, the criteria for granting a use variance is the Medici standard. And basically what we need to demonstrate is that this site that we propose to Topgolf on still remains suitable for this proposed use. And I think there's 2 main reasons. The first thing, like I mentioned, is size of this piece of land. You see some of the commercial uses along 46, a little bit smaller lots, smaller buildings. We do have a sufficiently sized property that we're working with. The minimum lot size for this area is 120,000 square feet, and we have approximately 454,000 square feet. So we're 4 times larger. There's only a couple more districts that are actually require larger pieces of land. Those are for garden apartments, for, recreational conservation uses. So when we look at, offices or business districts that actually require minimum lot size, this is one of the largest pieces, and we're still 4 times larger than the minimum. And obviously, Topgolf, you have the driving range aspect of it. You need a sufficiently sized piece of land. So I think that's why it's, so specific to this site. And then secondly is the location in this district. Obviously, we front, we have 2 through lots, so we front 2 major highways. Generally, in a office or commercial district, you have the highway, and then you have usually the commercial uses, and then they back up to residences. I think one of the biggest advantages of having this site is we don't abut any residential properties or residentially zoned pieces of land. So there's going to be we further lessen the impacts of this use. So, the fact that, we're through lot, we have the, the access and the, the visual aesthetic on the highways. We don't abut those residential uses. And this, conveniently is that large piece of land. I think it's a really appropriate property. It's a really unique site, specifically, suited for this use. And then secondly, I think, we look at site suitability in the site. I like to look at the neighborhood and what's around us. We are located in this kind of regional commercial corridor up and down 46. There's bars, there's restaurants, there's hotels, there's office campuses. This is one of those uses that I think complements those uses. People, generally like to incorporate the entertainment use with maybe a dinner, or people are, say, visiting in town and they're staying in a hotel, and, at night they like to go and visit the Topgolf facility. So this is one of those uses that I think is, has a lot of synergy with other uses in a commercial district, helps everything thrive, kind of serves as an anchor for the area.
So you're saying that this site is particularly suited for this use, given the surrounding neighborhood and size and street access?
Correct.
So can we talk a little bit about the signage?
Yeah. Let's
just go right to the sign.
Let's do it. I think we should flip to the rendering, and I'll point out kind of where the signs, where they're proposed. Let's go to the rendering from the top. Yeah, exactly. So basically, we're proposing, I'll start out with wall signs. We're proposing the 4 wall signs. So here's the front entrance. This is Route 80 right here, just to orient the board again. Here, we're gonna have the Topgolf. It's gonna say Topgolf on the top, and then there's gonna be that shield that we saw in that rendering before, and that's gonna be at the entrance of the facility. And then on the sides, we have 2 smaller sides up on the top, and then on the bottom edge of the building, basically just saying Topgolf.
How big are those signs?
Those signs are, so I'll start on the front of the building, the word Topgolf, 220.5 square feet. And then the shield below it, which is measured, we basically took a square, and any part of that shield or logo that encompassed the, the largest part of a square, 480 square feet. That's on the front of the building. And then the Topgolf lettering, where they say the words Topgolf on the sides of the building, each of them is 56.9 square feet.
Dimensions?
Of the signs on
The side ones.
the side ones.
They're on the rendering, Chairman. Are they? Yeah. On this here?
Yeah, those little red spots.
There's little red spots on the side for sure.
Oh, that's right.
They look little red spots on this big building, but. What's the question?
The sides of the sign. So they are the signs on the sides of the buildings. They're 2
Ones are on the
feet,
side.
2 feet, 8 inches by 21 feet, 5 inches.
What was that?
2 feet 8.
2 feet 8 by 21. Okay.
Correct.
And those face east and west?
Correct.
And the facade faces south?
Correct.
The one on the right side, if you're looking from 80, is basically just gonna be looking at right behind Target Building, or LA Fitness, or whatever it's called now. It's just gonna be like in the back of that building, right, if I'm not mistaken?
The one
I'm gonna
facing this
jump
side,
in
you
here
can see.
and,
Just asking. I'm just-
We're gonna amend the application to remove the sign you just mentioned that's
Okay.
facing the target. We're gonna reduce the pylon sign from 50 feet tall to 40 feet tall, and reduce the width of that sign down to 20 feet.
But from 28 to 20,
Yeah.
same
Since
5
there's 7
feet,
levels.
5 feet high.
Still need 5 feet for the letter sign.
Yeah, so that's basically the wall signs, and I guess, since we mentioned the pylon sign, we are seeking variances for the height and the sign area. I think there was some prior testimony that was mentioned. Yeah, the sign is only as good if you can see it from the roadway, and I think the reason being is that it's trying to be seen from people traveling along 80 from a distance, instead of waiting till maybe they're right in front of the building and have to make that hard 90-degree turn from their car. It's being able to see it, identify the site, and know that it's there. We are seeking variances for monument sign, once again, for the area and the height. It's 10-foot monument sign. That's going to be fronting Route 46. That is pretty consistent with what is out there. I think that goes back to the safety thing. It's not a sufficiently large sign. It's not, out of character with what's out there. I think the goal is to really be able to identify the site, especially considering the fact that the building is in the back of the site. And, you do see the netting, but like Mr. Waldo mentioned, part of it is branding and knowing that you see the post, I see the monument sign coming down 46, that's Topgolf, and then that's where we pull in comply. Lastly, we're seeking variances for the maximum number of freestanding signs. So this is the monument sign and the pylon sign that we're proposing. So you get one per frontage. So since we have frontages on each highway, we're permitted to have 2, and we really have 3. But the third freestanding sign that triggers that variance, like we discussed, is the one that's located internally. That's not meant to advertise or be seen to the outside world, like you've heard testimony before. That's part of the user experience. It's all internal. It's not meant to face the outside. So while we don't comply with the total numbers of the freestanding signs, the intent is met because we do have the one per frontage.
Your analysis of the application, master plan, local ordinances, and the proofs that have been put on this evening, it's your opinion that we can grant both the use variances and the bulk variances that are being requested here today?
That is correct, yes.
You feel these, certainly some of these bulk variances associated with the netting and the signage are subsumed into the use variance itself?
Correct.
I have no further questions for this.
Questions by the board?
Yeah. Do you have any rendering that shows the 3 or 4 signs you have on Route 80 side? How it will look from Route 80, all the signs together, instead of having just showing us only one sign at a time? I mean, how it will look to a driver driving on east side or west side of Route 80?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that we have prepared a rendering to see how that sign would look for someone driving. We just have the signage plan with just showing the elevations of the sign.
Mr. Parikh, wouldn't you agree that we really should see what they look like in the rendering?
Absolutely. That's why I'm
I think
asking.
that's gonna be necessary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sensitivity around this particular pylon sign, as you can tell.
Right.
And I think that rendering is going to be critical to any decision making.
Right.
How far is the building set back from the right of way? Do you know?
You mean on 80 or 46?
80.
From 80? No, just 61 feet.
And the building is 54 foot at the parapet.
I believe it was 56 feet, approximately 56 feet.
You didn't address that variance at all, or do you consider that, I mean, that's a D.
Right.
Mr. O'Neill asked if you said they were subsumed within, but that's usually bulk variance.
Right, and I think right, so we are seeking the D6 height variance. 45 feet is permitted and 56.2 feet is proposed at the top of the parapet. Really, I think the point of that is the standard prototypical design of a Topgolf, which is what we have proposed here, has a certain floor-to-floor height for the safety of the patrons of hitting golf balls in the bays. They need to clear a certain height, to make sure that on the backswing and the swing of people hitting the balls that it's high enough. And really, this is the height that, from what I understand, has been pretty standard across the board of all Topgolf locations. So that's, the reason being for that height. But I think when we look at it, it's not as apparent from the Route 46 roadway, and then obviously, the building is to the back of the site and located along 80. So it's not super obtrusive to say the Route 46 commercial corridor having an extremely tall building there. It's almost, located in the back here, and then you have these lines of trees blocking.
I agree with you what you described on the Route 46 frontage, but Route 80 has a different character altogether. I mean, Route 46 is a jungle. It's got, remnants of 1950s development still there, trying to get itself straightened out. 80 is a different story. And I think you need to address that.
Right, I mean, we really are not significantly over the maximum permitted height. I don't think that the height that is being proposed, especially on that facade, would be something that would be distracting to a driver on Route 80. I mean...
Would you agree that the visual impact of the additional height of the building along Route 80 is minimized by the fact that the traffic is driving past it at about 50 miles an hour?
Right, I agree.
50?
Well, I'm thinking of coming down
Rush hour.
South Beverwick Road, down the ramp, crossing down there, I do about 50. I think most of the traffic in those two lanes, which is immediately adjacent to the, where the Top Golf is gonna go.
Right.
Is going at about 50 miles an hour.
Okay.
I think that everybody else doing Mach 10 down the middle of the highway.
Yeah, okay.
Contrary to the glowing signage, it's not gonna even notice it.
I mean,
Visual
you've
impact
got,
on
the most prominent buildings along that corridor are the big office buildings up by 287. And they're close to the building, and you might want to relate to that somewhat. But I think we've got an issue here that we need more pictures.
Yeah, part of that building height is for safety reasons, if I compress the
I
building.
can't testify for you, but I think you can.
Yeah, well, I'm also sharing that part of that building height is to screen the rooftop units from view as well, and that's part of the parapet height. But also, just if I,
Well, what's the rest of that? If you took the parapet height where the air conditioners...
you'd be able to see the
But
rooftop units.
What's that height, the secondary height?
I think it's, 6 or 8 feet, maybe? But if I compress anything further, certainly would not have any safe operation within the building. We cannot do that with the clear height between floor to floor.
If you interpreted my comments, I was suggesting that it's not that. What I am saying to you is, I think you need to give examples of what is along Route 80 and how that you are compatible with your neighborhood, because that's your corridor, and that's the operative statements.
Yeah, and we're sharing with you here this perspective rendering that shows what's around us on Interstate 80. We've got a park next to us, and we've got a shopping center directly next to us as well.
Yeah, the shopping center, I think we're concerned with, the shopping center doesn't have a lot of fronted signs on Route 80 there. You're gonna have two major fronted signs on Route 80.
Can I, have a moment of fine?
Sure.
Are we in a German? Chairman, I got it. I'm older than you.
Hey, John?
Yes,
What do you want?
How come the guys are sitting over there?
What do you want?
That's damn good.
You're gonna fall. Want trouble?
This is the last witness, okay?
Good. You want to mention?
For tonight.
So I had a conversation with Mr. King about the application as it stands. And we do have some additional testimony concerning the height variance, but in relation to that, we are willing to remove the pylon sign completely from the application. And agree to TJ to continue with this calculation that we just worked out with our engineer.
And I think your question was if you reduce the pylon sign, then we, at the board, would we still want that rendering?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I don't think I need it.
Not without the pylon sign, you don't need it. That's the hangup.
I think we're good.
Yeah. You figured out what our issue was.
Yes, we did.
You know,
We dropped
it's very funny because your next door neighbor, Target, when they came for a variance, and all they wanted was a target on the building, we said, you're not gonna put up the name Target? No, we don't do that.
Now you're just taunting us.
What's that? What'd you say?
You're taunting him.
In terms of the height variance, your client did point out the characteristics of 80 and the compatibility of this, so I'm satisfied in terms of my question.
Do we have any issues on the table right now? Starting down there with Chaz, are we okay?
No, that's
I mean, we still have to go through site plan.
Yes, yes.
Okay, how about over here? Are there any issues? And you have no more witnesses?
We're done.
Is there any member of here that is a member of the public and is not part of your group?
Yes, there are members.
Are there members of the public here? All right, the members of the public, do you wish to speak in opposition to this application?
Questions first, right? Questions.
Well, I think I already did that, didn't I? Any members of the public have any questions of this witness? Okay, that's no. So, I guess there's only two, there's Gordon back there, I don't think, he may be asleep, I'm not sure, I can't see his eyes.
Frank is.
So, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application, in support of this application? I hear none and see none. You're done, you don't need to sum, do you? You're gonna, use your...
No,
You've done such a great job tonight. I mean, just,
Taking that
it's
pile
gone,
outside.
it's gone so smoothly. Anyway, my next question is, do we need to go into conference? Or we're happy with what? Okay.
Would you just summarize for me, Mr. Chairman, precisely what we're approving tonight then?
We're approving the use.
Got it?
We are approving the facade sign.
Got it?
Right? We're
With the
approving
amendments.
the 46 sign, that's another variance. They have impervious coverage, but they're actually shrinking the impervious coverage, so I guess you still need
Still over the limit, but we're lower than these.
Right, so you need an impervious, and you're,
I'm asking for variance.
and on site plan, you will provide all the drainage and everything to make us happy.
And the building height.
Yes.
Building height.
The building height. Again, the building height is gonna be facing 80, so
It was a couple of feet, right? It was 5 feet or
Yeah.
5 feet.
it's not ridiculous, nothing.
How much over was it?
It's really parapet walls.
It's 6
Parapet
feet
wall,
high.
Not even the
6
building.
And the parapet, I think your testimony was that it shields the air conditioning.
That's right. And there's a quick correction on the building height. I think it was 56.2 that was submitted.
Yes.
The actual building height is 52.2, so that's a clarification, so that minimizes the.
Oh,
There you
you're
go.
down to 52?
52.2.
The ordinance allows 50.
No, the order.
45.
Oh, 45.
Right,
So
so we've
we're not-
reduced
we're not
that.
asking
And again, that 52.2 is the parapet that shields the air conditioning.
Yes,
So that's
sir.
about 5 feet, so if you took that off.
Yes.
John?
Still a variance,
Do we
but
have
it's
all
less.
the variance now? We have,
Yes.
what we're voting on, what we're approving.
There was
Yeah.
parking variance too, right?
No, there were
No.
3 days.
No.
I was incorrect in noticing for that.
Okay, I see that you have noticed for it.
Yeah. That was incorrect.
Do I have a motion to authorize the attorney to draw up a resolution in conjunction with Mr. O'Neill?
Yes,
Does
sir.
that make the most sense?
So moved.
Okay.
Yes.
Second, Jaskowitz.
So we make sure you guys agree on what, when we, okay, is that good? So that was moved by who?
Jaskowitz.
Seconded by?
Ready.
Ready? Any discussion? Nora, call the roll.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Parikh.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Williams.
Yep.
Hurricane.
Yes,
Thank you, everyone.
unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes, thank you very much.
Nice
Well,
presentation.
You know, you just
When
gotta
will
get
we
it
see you
built.
again?
You just gotta get it built.
Hopefully March. Is that the next opening, March 8th? Is that what I heard?
No. That's if we scheduled it today.
Okay, well, we'll have our plans in shortly then. Thank you.
All right.
Happy holidays, everybody. Are we adjourning? Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Any discussion, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.